This is a math problem that you guys will need to know how to do for quiz 4.1. You're considering the purchase of two different houses. House 1 would have a daily round trip, 11-mile commute to work, while House 2 would have a daily round trip of 14 miles to commute. How much more CO2 would you produce annually if you buy House 2 and drive to work? So the key word we need to look at is annually. So annually simply means 1 year. Okay, so like any conversion problem, you need to look for your one starting number, and annually is your one starting number. We're converting to CO2. So if we look at the parentheses, it says assume that driving 1 mile produces 1.1 pounds of CO2. It has CO2 in it, so we know that's our final unit. Okay, so we're converting from year all the way to pounds of CO2. So I'm going to start off with House 2. Start off with the one number and then convert from there. I'm going to look at all of my conversion factors to see which one has year in it. So the one that has year in it is the 240 days per year, which I can think of as 240 days equal 1 year. So I put year on bottom, days on top. So years cancel out. So now I'm in days. I need to eventually get to pounds, so I look for something that has days in it. I don't see it in the parentheses, so I go back to my original problem. Again, in these math problems, you need to be able to read critically and extract numbers from words. So I see daily. Daily means 1 day. So 1 day equals, and we have miles. So we're looking at House 2, so it's 14 miles. Day goes on bottom, miles goes on top, plug in my numbers. Next, miles, the conversion factor that has miles would be 1 mile equals 1.1 pounds of CO2. So we finally reached the unit we want. I noticed that there's no numbers that is not 1 on the bottom. So I'm simply going to multiply all my numbers on top. Once I do that, I get 3,696 pounds of CO2. I need to do all this work again for House 1, but since I have this set up already, all I'm going to do is change 14 miles to 11 miles. And once I do, I multiply all of that together and get 2,904 pounds of CO2. To calculate how much more CO2 you would produce annually if you bought House 2 is to subtract. So that's what I'm going to do. 3,696 pounds of CO2, subtract 2,904 pounds of CO2 to get our final answer of 792 pounds of CO2. Okay, y'all, have a good one.